Hello, everybody. This is Mr. Storm, and today we're going to create a game which is going to allow you to have a little bit of creativity. In this game, I'm not going to tell you exactly where to put stuff. I will basically show you how to build the overall idea of the game, and then you can be as creative as you want with it after after that. So we're going to build on concepts that we've already learned. Really, as far as I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anything new that you need to learn for this project. This is just going to be a bit more work because you're going to need to start getting into the creative side. So because of that, I'm going to speed through some of the stuff that we've already done twice. Um, I'll still do it on screen so you can see what I'm doing, but I'm really going to be talking about the idea of what is a game and how do games work, right? What makes a game interesting and what makes a game playable and engaging. We're going to talk about that kind of stuff today. So, in order to discuss this stuff, let's do that by creating a version of one of my favorite old school games, a game called Arkanoid. And essentially, what Arkanoid is, it's a game where you have a paddle on the bottom of your screen and you have a ball and you bounce the ball off the paddle and you try to aim to hit bricks that are in the game area and you try to get rid of the bricks and make them go away. I love these games. They're some of my favorites. And so we're going to build one today and talk about what makes a game a game. Alrighty, create my project. Now, when you think of game, what does a game really mean? What does it mean for something to be a game? Well, in my mind, a game has a couple of things that have to be there. First of all, a game has to have players, whether it's one player against a computer, or it's one player against another, or many different players against each other, or many different players against a computer. There has to be some kind of interaction, right? If there's no player, then there's no game, right? You're just watching a movie, basically. So there has to be some person or computer that's interacting and changing the events of the game as it goes on. And so you or your audience, they are the player, and the player can make changes in the game by inputting commands into the keyboard or clicking the mouse, things like that. And that's how we manipulate games as they go. Another thing a game has to have is it has to have a way for you to win, right? There has to be some way for you to win the game. You also have to have some way to lose. There has to be some way to lose the game. And in the middle, in between the win and lose state, there has to be something to keep track of how well you're doing on your progress on your quest to winning the game. So think about something simple like solitaire, right? There's a player, right? And there's some kind of conflict, basically the disorder of the cards. There's a lose state, meaning you get to a point where you have no moves left and you cannot make a legal move to complete the deck. And you have a win state, meaning you've matched all of the cards onto their suits properly in the correct order. That means you've won the game. And on the way there, you have progress trackers. You can look and see the configuration of the cards that you have open and kind of check to see how you're doing. And there are rules that dictate how the game is played. In video games, a lot of the rules are handled in the background. We set up the rules as game designers, and players must follow those rules. Sometimes we have games that are kind of sandbox games where the rules are a little bit more open and players can define their own rules and they can play it however they want. Other games are pretty closed off, like some of these old school games like Pong and Arkanoid. The rules are pretty much set and you can't break them. But those are a couple of things that we need for a game. And today, when we're building this project, we want to think about a win state and a lose state and things like that to really figure out how to implement those things in this game. All right, so my Unity project is open. I'm going to organize my files a little bit, create a scenes folder, and create a scripts folder, and create a sprites folder, and I'm actually going to need a materials folder in this game as well. Materials. All right, let's start importing my information. Sprites, import new asset. Let's go to the desktop. Arkanoid resources, sprites. We'll grab all of this stuff. Boom. Let's go to scripts, import asset. Go to my scripts, import these 3 scripts here. Boom, and let's go ahead and save our scene, save scenes. Put in my scenes folder, and we'll save this as main as well. All right, now let's start building our user interface. Let's start building the play area. First off, we want to modify the camera. So let's select the camera, give it a nice black background, like a cool old school game. Let's set the size of this camera to like 125, make it nice and big. And oh yeah, let's turn off the HDR and MSAA. Go into our sprites. We'll grab our background picture here. We want to set it 1 pixel per square unit. We want to turn off the filter, hit apply. Let's go ahead and back out so we can see the whole camera. All right, let's drop that guy right in the middle of the game space, and let's put that at 0 on the X and 0 on the Y. Perfect. Next, we want to set our borders. Set those up properly so the sprites come in the right way. Point, and the top. Now I only have 3 borders on this game because we want to leave the bottom open, and I'll explain why in a minute. Left, right, and top. All right, let's make sure the top is at 0 on the X, so it's exactly in the center. Then we can take these guys and kind of move them into position. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. All right, so now we have a playable area. What we need to do is set these borders so that they can't be, you can't pass through them. So we're going to create a box collider around those borders. Perfect. Oh, and let's see. Alrighty, so now we have our playable area set up. Now we want to actually add in the racket. Let's add the player. Okay, so let's go to here, the racket. Let's set that to 1 and point, apply. Okay, now we can drag the racket and put it kind of toward the bottom here. All right, so this racket is going to move back and forth on the horizontal axis. It's not going to move up and down. It's going to move back and forth, and it's going to, if the ball collides with it, it's going to bounce the ball back up into the playable area. If it goes down here, though, we want the ball to actually we want it to be the loss state of the game. When the ball falls down below the paddle doesn't catch the ball, we want the player to lose. And in this instance, what we want to do is we actually want the game to reset. So all the bricks that the player has removed from the game board, we actually want those bricks to get reset, so this level will reset. So what we need to do is we need to have some area down here that's checking for that ball. Well, let's finish the racket first. We'll do that in a second. So the racket needs a box collider, and the racket needs a physics 2D rigid body. We need to set the gravity scale to 0, and we need to constrain its rotation. We don't want this to rotate. All right, so there's our racket, and we actually need to attach a racket script to it because we want our racket to be able to move in the game. So let's check. Our script is attached. Let's play our game and make sure our racket can move back and forth so that our player can actually play the game. And it does. All right, so our racket moves back and forth, and it collides with the boundaries, which is what we are looking for. Perfect. All right, so now let's go ahead and build this area down here that's going to catch the ball and reset the game whenever the ball hits, okay? What we want to do is we actually want to create what's called a game or an empty game object. An empty game object is a game object to which you can apply scripts to. You can apply a collider, you can apply everything you want to it. It just doesn't have a sprite attached to it, right? So what we can do is go up here to the hierarchy and click the create menu. And we want to click create empty. And so it creates a new game object, and it actually put it at negative 9.837 and negative 134.3 on the Y. Let's rename this game object to bottom. Now, you want to make sure that the bottom is lowercase, all lowercase, because that is how it's written in the script to look for the name of this object. Same thing with Racket. You want to make sure Racket is lowercase as well. For the most part, anytime I name something something specific, you want to just kind of follow exactly what I've written. So now we have this bottom object, has no sprite attached to it. It's kind of down here toward the bottom of the level. If it's not, you can just, move it around on the X and Y. But it's hard to see. I know that it's this little white circle here, but I actually want to see it. We also need to add a collider to it because the collider needs to be able to check to see if the ball is entering into, the ball needs to basically bounce off the bottom of the level, but as soon as that collision happens, the game should reset. So we're actually going to kill two birds with one stone. I'm going to go to Physics 2D and add a collider. Now we have a little tiny collider around this empty game object down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the collider a little bit bigger, just 3 by 3 on the size down here, so it's easier to click on. But I need to make it stretch all the way across the bottom of this level here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this button right here that says Edit Collider, and that gives me some handles I can grab to stretch this collider out and make it as big as possible. So stretch, and I will stretch it up so it meets basically the top of the level. All right, cool. So now anytime the ball bounces down here, it should reset the game because that's how we set our script up to do, or that's what we set our script up to do. All right, cool. Speaking of a ball, let's go ahead and add a ball to the game. Sprites, grab the ball, set it to 1, set this to points, hit apply, and drag the ball up into the game. Okay, now a couple things we need to add to the ball. Obviously, we need to add a box collider. Now you might be thinking, well, it's a ball. It kind of looks like a circle. Why don't we add a circle collider? And sure, you could. The problem is this is kind of pixelated graphics, and these are all squares. There's no round curves here. A box collider would actually work better, especially with colliding with the bricks up there. If we had a circle collider colliding with box collider stuff, there might be a little bit of an issue with, so we're just going to keep it as a ball collider. Or as a box collider, sorry. So we have our box collider there. We also want to add a rigid body 2D. And we want to turn off the gravity scale, set that to 0. We also want to set the mass very low so that the ball doesn't push our paddle out of the screen, and we want to freeze our rotation. We need to create a new material, so we need to create a new physics material 2D. We'll call this ball material. We want to set the friction to 0 and the bounciness to 1, so it bounces off of things. And if we go back to the ball, we can add this material to the box collider material. So now we have a bouncy ball that moves through space, and it collides off of the object. But we have no script to tell it what to do yet. So let's go to scripts, grab the ball script, and go ahead and add it to our object. So now we have our ball script that's moving at 100 speed. So let's play the game and see if that actually works. All right, so our ball's moving through the game area, and we're hitting it over there, boom, 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 and it's bouncing off the walls beautifully. And when we reach the bottom of the area of the level, it resets the game for us. And it doesn't really look like much yet, but we're about to add some bricks to the game so that we can actually see it reset. So let's add some bricks. Let's go to sprites. Now I have these 5 colored bricks that I've given you: blue, green, pink, red, and yellow. And you can put these in the game in any configuration you'd like. Okay? It's completely up to you. This is where the creativity comes in. You can make this level as complicated or as uncomplicated as complicated as you like. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to grab a yellow brick. Oh, I need to set it up so that it can show up in my game. I'm going to set it to point, click apply, and I'll bring the yellow brick in, pop it right in there. Now, a couple things I need to do to this yellow brick. First of all, obviously, I need to add a box collider. Now, I don't need a rigid body 2D on the brick because the brick isn't going to move. It's going to stay there, and it's just going to be deleted if the ball collides with it. So I'm going to keep that there. But I do want to attach a, let's see, I have a block script, and that script is going to make it delete itself whenever it gets hit. So I'm going to attach that to the block so it destroys the game object whenever it gets collided with. Now that I have this single yellow block that I like, I could create a prefab out of it, but I don't need to instantiate any prefabs in this game. All I need to do is actually duplicate it. I can duplicate that yellow block, and I can move a new copy of the yellow block wherever I want. Boom. Now, I can do the same thing with the other colored blocks in the game. I could go to my sprites, go to the blue block, 1 pixel per unit. Oh, 1 pixel per unit. Point filter, apply. Drag that guy out there. Add a box collider and add the block script. And I can make some copies of that. And how I'm duplicating this is I'm just hitting Control D. Control D allows me to duplicate. Okay, now I'm not trying to put them anywhere fancy right now. I'm just kind of putting them where, just in random places so we can play the game and see what it looks like. All right, so now whenever the ball collides with the blocks, they disappear. Oh. Or at least the yellow ones do. I wonder what's happening with the blue. We must have forgotten a step with blue. Let's look at the blue block. Box collider. Oh, the script didn't actually attach. We forgot to attach the script. So let's attach it there. Let's attach it there. Attach it there. Attach. And attach. So now these should all have the block script. Oop, 3 didn't take it. Let's add it to number 3. Okay, now let's try to play this game. So we have a loss condition. We have progress showing us how it works. We have rules, which are hard-coded into the game, keep us from cheating. Well, that one didn't go well. Yeah, see, that's the problem with trying to go a little bit too quickly. Now, we need a win condition. We need some way to actually win this game. Now, I didn't program in a win condition, but I want you just to think about what the win condition would be. For a game like this, what you would want to have happen is you would want the game to stop once all the bricks are gone, and then either move to a new level or give the player a high score. Give the player a score, and then allow them to restart the game. If you were giving them a new level or moving them to a more difficult level after completing this level, then you would need to then load a new scene. And you would do that by scripting. You would have a script that handles your scene management. You would basically have a game manager that has a scene management script in there somewhere, and it would take you to the next scene once all of the objects were removed from the game screen. That's one way to handle that. Now, if you feel like you can tackle that, if you're a little bit handy with programming and you want to try that out, please, by all means, go ahead. With this game, however, with what I've programmed, with what I've given you with my scripts, we don't have anything that advanced. We will, at some point down the line, we'll talk about creating new scenes and making that, interesting. Right now, what we have, though, is basically just a visual thing. I can see once all the bricks are removed from the scene, I can see that I've won. And all I have to do to play again is let the ball fall to the bottom of the screen and and basically give myself allow myself to start the level over, right? And then we can infinitely play this game over and over again. Now, that's basically it for building this game, right? This is a shorter lesson because we kind of breeze through some of the other stuff that I've already done. What I want you to do is I want you to take these ideas and I actually want you to get creative with how the bricks are oriented in the level, right? Give me a cool looking pattern. Use all the different colors. Um, make a smiley face or a wavy pattern or, lines of bricks or whatever it is that you want to do. Go crazy. Build the coolest levels in Arkanoid that you can think of, right? Get creative with it because in the next couple of projects, we're actually going to build onto these skills and you're going to be more and more creative with the implementation of these games. You're going to be making your own artwork. You're going to be designing game functionality and stuff like that. So start thinking about what makes a game interesting and fun. Your challenge for this assignment is to make the most fun playable level of Arkanoid out of everyone else taking this class. Okay? And I will give a prize to the person that makes the most fun Arkanoid level. All right? The one that when I play it, I have the most fun playing it. I will give a prize to someone who creates a really fun Arkanoid level or one that looks really cool or whatever. My favorite level, the most impressive one, I will give you a prize. So that's it for me. Go ahead and work on your level. When you're done, don't forget to save all of your work, save your scene, save your project, and then don't forget to go to build settings and turn off your full screen resolution. Um, turn off the dialog box that allows me to choose full screen. Um, We want to make sure that full screen isn't our standard thing because we're not programming any buttons in here that allow us to exit the game once it's started to play. So the only way to exit the game if it defaults to full screen is for me to Control Alt Delete and kill the task, which is kind of annoying. So make sure we're turning that off. Go ahead and build and run your game and then zip your project files with your executable file and all that stuff together and send it to me. And again, I will give a prize to the best Arkanoid level of all. So spend some time, be creative, have fun, enjoy yourself. Please, please, please practice this stuff at home. Start coming up with ideas for your own video games and thinking about what you could do to implement them. All right, that's it for me. I will see you next week. Thank you for paying attention.